Ramadan, my father would spend the night at the mosque. So a lot of times I would take him food. Like my mother would make food for him, and I would take it like usually before 8 o'clock, right? Because that's the last evening prayer.
Did you ever leave the campus before the end of track practice? Did you ever go?
No,
Okay.
no.
You're sure?
I want to say that I'm 99% sure.
Okay.
The reason why I can't say 100 is because, I mean, I do kind of understand that it comes across as, I don't know if it does or doesn't, but it seems like I remember things that are beneficial to me, but things that aren't beneficial to me I can't remember. It's just that I don't really know what to say, beyond the fact that a lot of the day that I do remember, it's bits and pieces that comes from what other people have said, that they remember, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of jogs my memory. Right? Yeah, I don't really know what to say, and I completely understand how that comes across. I mean, the only thing I can say is, man, it was just a normal day to me. There was absolutely nothing abnormal about that day to me.
Adnan knows better than anyone how unhelpful this all is, how problematic, because it plays both ways. If he's innocent, right, it's any other day. Of course he doesn't remember. But you can also read it as, how convenient, he doesn't remember the day. So no one can fact check him or poke holes in his story, because he has no story.
And I definitely understand that someone could look at this and say, oh man, he must be lying. It's so coincidental that he doesn't remember what he did at this particular time. I mean, I completely understand that, and I get that. That's, like I said, that's the hardest thing I've dealt with for these past 15 years is that if there's nothing tangible I can do to remember that day. It's the truth. There's nothing I can do, to make me remember. I poured through the transcripts. I've looked through the telephone records. I mean, it's just, what else can I do? There's nothing I can do, so it's perhaps I'll never be able to explain it. And it is what it is. If someone believes me or not, I have no control over it.
Adnan's trial was a long ordeal. Jay was on the stand for something like 5 days. A cell phone expert testified for 2 days, a lifetime when you're discussing cell tower technology. There were absences and some bad weather closed the courts, so it was 6 weeks before both sides rested. But the jury, they moved like lightning. After just a few hours, including a lunch break, they convicted Adnan of first-degree murder. Rabia Chowdhury was there in the courtroom when it happened. She says his mother was crying, she was crying. Rabia hadn't sat through the whole trial, so the first time she fully understood that the case came down to those 21 minutes was during closing arguments, when the prosecutor brought out a dummy's head and strangled it in front of the jury. That evening, after the verdict, Rabia went to see Adnan in lockup.
And so I went to go see him. So this is the same day he's been convicted. And this is the first time I actually had a conversation with him about, what's going on. And I was like, Adnan, the whole thing's turning on these 20, 25 minutes. Like, where were you? And he's like, look, she disappeared in January. In March, you're asking me, like, where were you after school for 20 minutes on a specific day? Like, no, all the days are the same to me,
But then he mentions that there was this one girl, an alibi girl.
He's like, the only thing I could offer is, he's like, I remember, he's like, there's a girl I go to school with who, her name's Asia McLean. He's like, right after I got arrested, she wrote me a couple of letters. And she said she also went to see my family. And she said she specifically remembers me being at the library, at the public library, right after school.
The Woodlawn Public Library is just across the parking lot from Woodlawn High School. It's not technically part of the campus, but it might as well be.
He said, I gave those letters to Christina Gutierrez, to my attorney. He's like, but, apparently it didn't really check out. So he's like, I don't know. So they're not helpful to us. So this is the first time I heard of this girl, Asia McLean. I had never heard of her before. Nobody had mentioned her before.
Were you like floored? Like, wait, what? I mean, what, like...
I wasn't floored at the time because I thought if this girl wrote and the attorney, what criminal defense attorney is not going to check out a potential alibi? So I asked him, I said, do you have a copy of those letters? He said, yeah, I have a copy. I said, send me a copy.
Adnan sends the letters to Rabia, and here's what she reads. The first letter, the first of two, is dated March 1st, 1999. That is 1 day after Adnan was arrested. At the top of the letter, she notes, I just came from your house an hour ago. Dear Adnan, I hope I spelled it right. I'm not sure if you remember talking to me in the library on January 13th, but I remember chatting with you. She says, quote, we aren't really close friends, but I want you to look into my eyes and tell me if your boyfriend and his best friend remember seeing you there too. That's letter number 1. Then the next day, on March 2nd, she writes Adnan another letter. This one's typed, it's chattier. She talks about the gossip in school, the bits and pieces of evidence about the crime that are circulating, what the students are saying, what the teachers are saying, about her visit to his house. Quote, "Your brothers are nice. I don't think I met your mother. I think I met your dad. Does he have a big gray beard? They gave me and Justin soda and cake. There's a whole bunch of people at your house. I didn't know who they were. I also didn't know that Muslims take their shoes off in the house. Thank God they didn't make me take mine off. My stinky feet probably would have knocked everyone out cold. Why haven't you told anyone about talking to me in the library?" she asks him. "Did you think it was unimportant? You didn't think that I would remember? Or did you just totally forget yourself?" Adnan says now that he does, in fact, remember seeing Asia in the library. And the thing he remembers about it is so high school. Asia used to go out with Adnan's friend Justin, and Justin had confided that Asia was a proper young lady.